right, so here's Brendan Hott, a freshman. 7th best average on the team, so you see Coach Dolstowinski over his left shoulder. Crossed over, and he'll leave a 6.
Not much surprise that first shot going left. Even on the PBA Tour, you'll see guys that have a tough time on that first shot, getting it off their hand clean and getting it on line. But he did miss in the safe direction in the way most people will miss, which is towards the head pin.
Switches to the spare ball. Oh, no problem there. Good start. Scores have been all over the board here. We've seen, particularly the first days, some lower scores, but we've had some remarkable scores when we got to the qualifying round. Now we take a look for the first time at Fresno State and their lineup, and they open up with a left-hander, Micah Kamiyama, an explosive player. He crossed over.
Much the same thing. It's just so difficult to get everything settled down and make that first shot, particularly for some of these left-handers because they're playing so close to the gutter.
Sophomore from Hot. He is an emotional player. When I said explosive, I also meant emotional. Now, obviously, he's not going to be overly fired up about that first shot, but he seems to be the guy who's like the classic baseball leadoff hitter.
And he is. He's fairly direct. He does have a tendency to miss in if he's going to miss. But he's been very solid throughout the tournament at leading his team off and getting the tone set. And this team can get really high, really fast.
We'll take a look at the bowler in the 2nd and 7th frames. They call him Christus Zervejevas from Lithuania. Another freshman. Interesting that they open freshman.
But watch this kid throw the ball.
He's got a problem there with a 5'10", a member of Team Lithuania since 2007. He has extensive international experience. That's one of the impacts we're seeing in the college game. A lot of colleges are drawing players from South America, from Europe, even Asia now is becoming a big college bowling development area.
Well, particularly this Weber International team, as you have players from Lithuania, Brazil, Puerto Rico, and New York, which, depending on where you live, is its own country.
It can be very international. This is a tricky one, 5'10". Nope. That's an early open in this format. Now, the idea here, by the way, is we're not playing one game. It's going to be first, basically, the 2 points will win. So if you win this game, you get 1 point. If you tie, you get a half a point. It's basically best of 3, but Ben Kiesick. And that is major trouble. 2-4-8-10 for the exercise and science major from Brentwood, California, in the LA area.
Well, and I think Ben Kiesick is the wild card for this team. He plays very firm, very direct. That one you see gives left to right through the front of the lane. Once it gets right at about the 8th board on this pattern, no chance.
Gonna go for it. Yeah, that's a pretty tough one to knock down, obviously. So a little bit of a nervous start. Weber with the 3-pin advantage. John Krasinski, you mentioned New York. And again, if you're wondering what the numbers are, 3 and 8 just simply means that he is the 3rd frame and 8th frame bowler. He knocked the 10 away from what is you've referred to many times as your least favorite spare to shoot. But what are they? Is it? You think it's nerves right now?
Well, I think what it is right now is the lanes just haven't really set up yet. They're pretty fresh. They only got to practice for 15 minutes, 7.5 minutes on each lane. That means most guys got to throw 3, maybe 4 shots on each lane, and they're just not comfortable with how their ball is hooking back, so they're afraid to throw it to the right. The safe play is then you yank it over your toe a little bit and goes through the nose.
Kent got that. So Weber with a couple of marks and an open frame so far. Now, how did Fresno State get here to this championship round? Well, their road was a difficult one. Having to go through Wichita State 3 times. They lost to them once. They defeated Purdue. Purdue had an excellent team, by the way, when they came here. Wait a minute. Now we're hearing there was a foul on the spare. All right, so Chris, what does this mean?
Well, here with all the lights on, they turn off the foul lights because they tend to malfunction or not work correctly. So there's a foul line judge. The foul line judge has called a foul on that spare, and he will get 0 for that spare attempt.
This is Michael Pixley. And he gets us our first strike of the afternoon.
I think Michael has bowled very, very well throughout this tournament. They've gone with an interesting strategy of not putting the 2 left-handers together, even though they have both been striking a lot. And you'll see this. He's playing a little arc from 7 to about 4. Goes a little bit light, paralyzes the 7, but gets it out of there. When their second bowler, Ben Kiesick, throws strikes in between those 2 left-handers, that's when Fresno State shoots the big number.
So Javier Diaz now trying to get the first strike for Weber. He misses wide right. And take a look at how Weber got here. They've been the #1 ranked team all season long, and they ripped right through. They didn't lose to anyone. And I shouldn't say ripped right through because they got into a heated battle with Robert Morris of Illinois, and those were 2 outstanding best-of-7 games. Takes the safe 3, gets the count. But now 3 consecutive open frames for the Weber Warriors. And a big opportunity now if Travis Beasley can pop a double in there.
Travis has a little more axis rotation than the rest of them. Creates more down lane angle with his natural roll, but it also leaves more splits on the other shots.
And there was a good example, exactly what you were talking about, and the split went right through the nose.
And he's trying to use a ball that rolls pretty early here, but goes right through 12. He needs to be another board or 2 right of that or firmer with his speed. You sit on the bench. His last shot was probably about 10 minutes ago. Hard to come out at the perfect speed with the perfect rotation. And on this difficult 40-foot pattern, accuracy and execution is paramount.
Yep. Take it. Extra pin. You never know. Something like that might come in handy later. So both teams struggling a little bit on this fresh pair of lanes. And this is one of the finest college bowlers in the country. Marcelo Schwartz, the junior from Sao Paulo. You see his average on the year. He is, when you talk about the anchor bowlers, this is as good as you're going to get. It can, by the way, same with Fresno State, come to think of it, with Greg Gearing.
It's not surprising the 2 teams in this national final have 2 of the best anchor bowlers in the country.
That's what you do when you're the anchor. The Brazilian national champion comes through with the first strike of the day for Weber.
And there's real heavy end-over-end roll right through here. Doesn't give the pocket away a whole lot. Right at the 3-6. Little move in the back, straight through. 10 down, perfect execution. And his team needed something to stabilize them and get them back on the right track.
And in the huddle, you saw Greg Gearing doing the talking. Now he'll do the talking where he does it best, on the lanes. And look at that average for the junior out of Phoenix. And the anchors come through. Now we have a match now through 5. Fresno State with the early advantage. Weber has overcome a foul and some open frame problems, and they're only 8 pins down on the pursuit. The first national championships for either of these schools.
It's been very difficult.
So Brandon Hott will come back. He bowled the first frame and went 9 spare. And then his teammates followed with consecutive open frames, including a rare foul. But they have recovered with Schwartz, the anchorman, coming through with the first strike of the day for Weber. That deliberate approach is going to leave him trouble. 2-4-10. Now this is makeable. We've seen some remarkable split shooting in some of these matches that we were watching over the past couple of days.
Well, this is where the biggest momentum swings happen. The other teams counted this as an open, and this is a much better shot. I think he likes this one, but it doesn't bite up quite enough in the middle. It gets just a little bit right.
Got the full out of that. Instead, only 9. So a little momentum that Weber may have had broken. And I've noticed, and I don't know if you agree with me or not, as we take a look at a guy who can really jumpstart momentum for Fresno and Kamiyama, that this does seem to be a momentum-driven thing.
Absolutely, because you do not get to throw a lot of your own shots.
You live vicariously through your teammates.
That's exactly right. Mike has been a huge spark plug for these guys. He's a great leadoff guy, doesn't make a lot of bad shots, good spare shooter, and he comes back with a lot of positive energy on those good shots.
So Christus Sergeyevis had an open frame his first time up, sports management major.
This is where communication within your team is really important, because these first 3 guys did not throw great shots. They have to talk to each other and get themselves back on track.
Oh, he got a big break. We thought we were going to lose Joe Smolinski there for a second. The intense coach for the Weber Warriors caught a huge break, kicking that 7 to the side.
Well, I'd call this one a good one and a bad one. Watch the head pin as it goes across. It comes back just in front of the 10. Had plenty to knock it out. It was about 4 inches in front of it down there.
All right, hangs in there, calmly makes that. So Ben Kisick comes up, and he's the player that Chris has identified as the wild card for Fresno State. Again, this is the best of 3 in the Baker format, which means you'll have 5 players aside, and substitutions are allowed, but you sub a player out, he does not come back in.
We've seen a little bit of everything out of Ben, and when he strikes, this team goes real big.
It sounded funny, but it looks great. A little extra